Is that the end? Okay, man. Okay, alright. Well, hey, we did it. Who's Miles Proud? Oh, I thought they had Sonic. Okay. Okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. Alright, first things first. The bottom center of the screen says that we've beaten 29 games in 2024 and 476 since we started doing this in 2020. Those numbers are now outdated. We've now beaten 30 games in 2024 and 477 since we started doing this in 2020. Let's go! Alright, yeah, so I have some thoughts, man. I have some thoughts about this game. Shall we discuss it? I don't think this is a very good video game. And this is what I said as soon as I started to get the feel for what this game is. I said if I was 10 years old and I had a Game Gear in my hands and I was just waiting for my mom to pick me up from school and I had 2 Game Gear games, this would be fine. I would be having a great time. I would be happy not to be bored. But any standard any higher than this, and this is just an objectively bad game. It's just... Let's talk about... So, if I usually start these things with what was good about it. This game doesn't add anything to the Sonic franchise. It doesn't do anything really differently. There's a couple of little traversal things that are just nominally different, but it doesn't really change up the formula at all. It's just a basic, watered-down version of Sonic. If I said earlier that it feels like I'm playing one of those like 801 arcade Game Boys that you can buy on Amazon for $20. And it doesn't have Sonic the Hedgehog, but it has like, oh, but we have Sonic the Hedgehog, but it's not. It's this. It's like some C-Team version of it. That's what this feels like. It's like, hey, we wanted to make a video game that would work on the Game Gear, and it's Sonic. That's our only standard. Just try and make that work. And they did. And then they were like, hey, the Master System can run this. Let's put it on the Master System, too. If I'd known this was just a Game Gear game, I don't know if I would have added it to my list. But it doesn't add anything to the franchise. There's absolutely nothing special about it. The bosses are the worst in the franchise so far. I've played 1, 2, and Sonic CD, and now this one, because I'm playing them in order. It's the worst in the franchise so far. It's got the worst traversal, the worst boss fights. The UI is really bad. It makes sense if you're making a Game Gear game, because it's zoomed way in, so the character's a little bit larger on the screen, so you can see it a little better, and the HUD has got these big, ugly numbers on it that are kind of in the way. And if you're playing on a handheld, I get it, but like, when you're trying to jump, and there's like pits in this game you can just fall into and die, and you're trying to jump, the camera follows your character when you jump up, so you don't see where you're landing. So it's very difficult to traverse the game. And so on top of all of those things that are very specifically Sonic Chaos problems, it also has all the problems that I already have with Sonic. I'm already not a big, giant fan of this franchise. Oh, for fuck's sake. I'm already not a giant fan of his franchise because I think Sonic levels are messy. It has this problem that all Sonic games have where it encourages you. Its game is more fun when you want to go, if you go fast. So it's got like these spirals and loop-de-loops and stuff. It's like, it's more, if you're just walking through them, it's not that fun. The point is to go fast. The problem is that if you go fast, it's also more dangerous because you'll just fly off of a cliff, or you'll fly into an enemy, or you'll fly onto some spikes or whatever. And so you really, if you want to play the game safe, you need to walk, right? That's really the best way to play the game if you want to not die a bunch. And so then it's not fun. And so that problem every Sonic game has. And the platforming's just not as clean or precise. So the hitboxes aren't as clean and precise as Mario or some of the other franchises of the time. And so this game just all around just isn't a very good game. Again, I don't want to hate on it, because if you're 10 years old and you have a Game Gear in your hands, maybe you have some nostalgia for this game. I totally could see you enjoying this game. But as someone that's playing through the Sonic games in order and already has problems with the franchise, now to play this, which brings absolutely nothing new to the table, and everything about it is worse, from the graphics to the music to the traversal to the camera to the HUD, everything about it, the bosses, everything about it is worse. Why on earth would I say that this game is good. Why on earth would I? There's just no reason to do so. And I guess, at the end of the day, my last question is this. Well, and I figured it out while I was playing the game. I was like, why would they make 3 Genesis games, Sonic games, and then make one for the Master System that looks crappy comparatively and plays crappy comparatively? And I realize it's probably because they made the game for the Game Gear. So they already knew they were making a watered-down version of it. And then they were like, hey, the Genesis, we wouldn't want to run this on the Genesis because it would make the Genesis look bad. But the Master System can run it. So why don't we put it on that, even though the Genesis has been already out at this point for 3 years? Let's just put it on the Master System, too. And so they did. That's definitely what happened. But the only way this game really makes sense is if it were the first one. And then you look at Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and be like, oh, what an improvement. But that's not what happened. This game came out way after all those. And it's a bad game. It is, I don't like to say that things are bad. It's just a very, very basic, very, very low effort Sonic game. And it's probably an achievement in and of itself that they were able to even make a color Sonic game for the Game Gear. And that probably is an amazing technological achievement, and I wouldn't take anything away from that. But the game itself, as someone who's just playing through all of them and doesn't have to worry about hardware limitations of these 16 8-bit games or whatever, it's just the worst one easily so far. And I don't already like any of the other games that much. So this is going to rank very low. It's going to rank very low. I didn't really enjoy it. There was one boss fight that I kind of enjoyed a little bit because it was pretty tough and it wasn't broken. And then I figured out how to cheese him and I killed him immediately. So whatever. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not going to hate on a Game Gear game too much. What do I expect, right? What do I expect? I expected very little and I actually got even less, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, this is the part. So Sonic, this is the part of the video where I would normally say, hey, Sonic Chaos, it's been fun, but we're not going to delete you from our console and never play you again. This is part of a collection. However, I'm letting a friend borrow this tomorrow, my PlayStation. So I actually am going to delete it. So we'll go ahead and say, Sonic Chaos, it's been fun. Not really, actually, but I'm glad that hey, you know what? Here's one thing. I'm glad that I appreciate that you made this game available on modern consoles. That really does make a difference to me. That really is. That's not going to change the ranking, but that is important to me, and that means a lot to me that they did that. So thank you for that. But we are now going to delete you from our console and never play you again. Peace.